In the last lecture, we talked about classes and how we can create objects of those classes. Now, sometimes when we create a class and we try to compare the two different objects, we want them to be equal, not based on the reference, but based on their values. So let's take a look at a very simple example. I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to call it class coordinate. Now, this particular class can have a latitude and a longitude. So let's go ahead and create a property for a latitude and also longitude. Obviously, this particular class represents some sort of a GPS position, which consists of the latitude and the longitude. Now, I can go ahead and create an instance of this class. So I can say maybe coordinate1 equals to, and pass in the latitude and longitude. So let's say 95.5, and for longitude we can just pass in 35.5. All right. Now I can also go ahead and create another coordinate. So there we go. We just created another coordinate. One thing that you will notice about the coordinate 1 instance and coordinate 2 instance is that they represent exactly the same coordinate, because the latitude position and the longitude position of both the coordinate 1 instance and the coordinate 2 instance are equal. If they are equal, can we actually compare them something like this? Coordinate 1 equals to coordinate 2. And if they're equal, we can say same coordinates, and else different coordinates. All right. So what do you think is going to happen? Is it going to print same coordinates, or is it going to print different coordinates? Let's go ahead and run this. Different coordinates, because these two objects are actually different objects and they are compared by reference. Even if I go ahead and add 3 equal to sign, which actually compares the left hand side and the right hand side and whether they are both pointing to the same object, they will still print out different coordinates because they are not pointing to the same object. These are two completely different objects because we are creating them like this, two separate objects. Sometimes, and in this scenario, we actually don't really care that much about the reference that they're pointing to. We want to compare it with the values that they're holding. So if this is holding 95.5 for latitude and longitude for 35.5, and if the other coordinate, which in this case coordinate number 2, is holding the same exact values for latitude and longitude, then they should be equal. And this is a new feature, or this is a feature of Kotlin, which is called data classes. And you can use data classes to create classes that simply holds the data. And when you compare two instances of those classes, which are marked with data classes right over here on line number 17, then those two instances can be equal. Make sure that you update this to have a double equal to sign and not triple equal to. So now, since this is marked with data class, this means that when the comparison happens, it's actually going to compare the value of the properties. So basically, it's going to compare that if the latitude of coordinate 1 is equal to the latitude of coordinate 2, and the longitude of coordinate 1 is equal to the longitude of the coordinate 2. And guess what? They are equal. So let's go ahead and run this. And now you can see that it actually prints out same coordinates. So pretty cool. This is a really good feature. In many different languages, you'll see that you'll have to create a separate structure or a separate model that represents the data classes. But in Kotlin, you can simply create a data class by adding the data keyword to it. So that's pretty much it.